we're live. We're live in the morning. Once again, we're at the Hub Bike Lounge. This is season 5 finale. It's so exhausting, yet so rewarding to sit down with a big group of people that know some stuff. And I'm so looking forward to unfolding Dialed Action Sports, Jason, Chris, and special guest, last minute ad,
Andrei Burton.
We got, and then what was that monster truck voice?
Andrei Burton.
There, we got it.
The crowd goes wild.
We got it.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, man, I really do appreciate you guys coming because a lot of you guys just flew in today, right?
Chris just flew in last night.
Yeah. Last night.
I got here the day before.
I live here.
Gotcha.
I live here.
And
I've been
Jason
here for the
lives
past year,
here.
just about. Yeah.
Yeah. We bumped into each other at, I believe it was the YT. Was it the party? Was it at the party?
It was one of the parties at the YT mill that we met.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a video show or something.
It was it when Brett was here? Brett Tippy? Or it was something else?
I feel like Brett might have been there. I don't know.
It might have been the night that he was here for something. I don't even know. There's so many parties, so much going on around here. You have no idea what,
But it was definitely at YT. There was some kind of event going on. That's what
right. Mm-hmm. And I think what's cool about it is like you just bump into unlikely suspects, you know, and somehow we're now on a podcast together.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool to me.
So yeah, I kind of want to. I think that probably the best thing to do is to start off talking about Dialed. And what Dialed Action Sports is and what it's going to offer for Northwest Arkansas. Because, I mean, you guys aren't here for nothing, right?
Right.
Yeah. You want to start?
Yeah, well, I'll start. Dialed Action existed before I was involved. Dialed Action was basically a show company doing BMX shows for schools, more or less.
Yeah.
You know, I had a professional career riding trials for 15 years, 18 years. And I had done something entirely different. I didn't do all the small events. I rode for, corporate brands and did a lot of traveling, did a lot of retailer events. And so when I was kind of looking at getting some other riders involved and not being the full-time rider for myself anymore, instead of starting over with a new company, I just teamed up with Dialed. So it was an existing company. They were already, well-known in the Northeast where we're out of New Jersey. And it just made more sense instead of me trying to find other riders and competing with these guys to join up with them and they could keep on kind of doing the baseline of their business, doing the small events. And, it was really my goal to try and get corporate, sponsors involved, larger events. So now, now we're doing stuff all over the place. We've got Andrei riding with us. We're down in Arkansas doing stuff. So we've been successful building it up. I mean, our base business still is doing a lot of smaller events, but it's been an exciting ride with them. I've been with them 5 years now, and we've gotten to do Walmart events, Bell, Schwinn, all kinds of stuff. So it's been great.
Yeah. I mean, to piggyback on what Chris and I met. Dude, I got into trials at 17. Chris met Chris in my 20s. I'm 49 now. Yeah, and so the Dialed Action is an agency, of action sports agency that specializes. We specialize in BMX school assemblies. That's our bread and butter. We do anti-bully, drug awareness, smart choices, bike safety school assemblies. We do over 1,000 shows a year. 80% are probably school assemblies. A lot of them in the Northeast, but all over the U.S. We do motorcycle trials. We do FMX freestyle motocross shows.
Wow.
We do and bicycle trials. And so Chris and I have known each other for a long time. And founded by Brown, but the company was founded by Brian Cunningham as a BMX,
strictly just BMX
team.
shows.
Started with a van and a trailer,
right?
And now it's like multiple rigs, for each discipline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So and then Chris called me 3 years ago. We stayed in touch all these years, and just all of a sudden I found myself creating jobs. So there's 3 of us. There's 2 owners: Brian Cunningham, Chris Clark, and then I'm the full-time booking manager. So I write all the contracts. I deal with all the customer inquiries, write the contracts, get it on the schedule. Brian is basically daily ops, builds the ramps, does staffing, gets everybody where they need to go. Chris is major events and marketing, does all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
And so we've got this really cool flow. We all have these different gifts that kind of overlap a little. And then as far as Arkansas goes, I came out here to live this past year just to check it out. We're coming here anyway because Bell, Revelist, Amy Coach. So we're already coming here. So I was like, hey, I could live out
Might
here.
as well move here.
Chris was like, yeah, we'll move you there for a year and check it out. And like, we tried to like kind of get into the schools here to do some school assemblies. We haven't been totally successful with that, but we're just doing our thing out here, hanging out. And right now, have a booth at Bike Fest. And
yeah, well, what's been funny with Dialed? I mean, it worked out pretty well. My father was a branding and marketing guy. And so when I was growing up, I rode mountain bikes competitively, but like we were talking about before we started recording, having kind of these square bikes that weren't built for trials.
That's right.
I rode a bike like that when that was a competitive bike, and those began to not be such competitive bikes during the time I was competing. And I kind of made the conscious decision, like, all right, if I want to have a sponsor, if I want to ride a relatable bike, I'm going to just stick with the mountain bike. And that was where I stopped doing as many competitions and started doing more shows, and tried to stay on a bike that was a relatable mountain bike, that looked like a mountain bike, that was ridden like a mountain bike.
Yeah, sure.
And my dad was kind of pushed me towards, you could do this as like an endorsed rider instead of a competitor.
Yeah,
and I was able to make a real career out of doing shows. And it's been interesting working with, when I started working with Brian on Dialed, there's a lot of really talented BMX riders and mountain bike riders who they have a skill, they're willing to work, they're willing to travel, they want to ride, but they're not going to sit down and put together a marketing proposal. They're not going to optimize their website and send out a mass email and respond to all the incoming inquiries and plan the schedule and build the rig, and that's really been our job. I mean, we kind of do that part of it. I mean, if you've got a skill and you're talented and you want to get out there and you want to promote cycling and you want to promote an active and healthy lifestyle, we kind of do all the background that allows you to do that as a job and make some money. And it's been cool. I mean, Brady Baker, who won the X Games last year, I think we were his first job in cycling.
Oh, okay.
Christian Earhart that did the quad flip on the Hyper last year, he did shows for us for years. I mean, I think we were the first job for a lot of these guys where they're incredible riders. They're great, spokesmen for the sport, but they're busy riding. They don't want to do all the office work.
Well, I think
when I came on
board,
shows, when I came on board, like Brian and Chris were like, when I came on board, Chris basically called me up. I didn't know they were looking to hire somebody, and I didn't realize the scale of what Dialed was doing. Yeah. And Chris was like, "Hey, you want to come out to Arkansas and announce a BMX show?" And I had a job in the lumber industry as a sales guy, an account manager. Yeah. And I'd been to Arkansas. Gary Vernon brought me out here 12 years ago before all this really happened. And I came out here. And Gary was like, "This is going to be the mountain bike capital of the world." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm looking around,
back then,
all there is the
that
flying
made
fish.
no sense.
Yeah. So I'm like, I should have bought some property back then.
Yeah.
So Chris flew me out here. I took off work and come out here, and I realized really quick, I'm like, Dialed Action's a big deal. It looks like they need some help. I said, "Chris, are you trying to hire somebody?" And he's like, "Yeah." Basically, like, "What can you do for us?" And I'm like, well, "I'm an account manager, so yeah, I could help you." Like, so,
well, I think that's what happens with teams. Like when you build a team and you start to find like the niche skills that each person brings to the table. Like it's important to put like somebody who like knows or is comfortable in like a certain position. Like, okay, cool, you're handling that, you're handling this.
Yeah. Well, and that took some pressure off of them, for us to be able to start doing stuff like this and to start working with athletes. Because Chris and I had some vision, like with what Chris was saying just now about the athletes and their careers. It took some pressure off them to be able to focus. Now Chris and I can like do some of these side projects to start making the brand look better, helping athletes like Andrei or Baker or like all these athletes with their careers. So, it's pretty cool to be able to start doing that kind of stuff.
Well, I think that would be kind of I'd like to get your perspective on that, Andrei, about like, like how, there's so much to unpack with you. So, but I want to start with this, just segueing in, working with a group that is helping you you ride and they're able to facilitate that.
Yes, it's quite interesting because I think me and Chris have like pretty similar backgrounds. So in the UK, like I kind of had the same thing where, like I started in 2000 riding trials, and then when I was like 16, 17, well, between 16 and 20, I was working in a bike shop and started doing shows and started like progressing, going to world championships and stuff. And yeah, making a career out of competitive trials is like basically impossible, right? Especially then.
Yeah.
So it was like, do you go around down the commercial route of doing shows? And at the time, like in the UK, there was like Martin Ashton and Martin Hawes were like doing all the big events, and I was like, right, so you know, I don't want to compete against those guys. That's their thing. Right. And I kind of like figured that there was quite a big gap in the market and a chance to promote cycling and healthy living in schools.
Sure.
So I started the whole school thing in the UK. And actually took it to my local council and said like, hey, we could be doing shows in schools. Trials is a great thing. You can go into any space and do something that's like eye-catching and engaging, and get kids excited about riding bikes and like achieving their goals and being like, think outside the box, you know, healthy lifestyle, ride bikes to school, all of it. It's all a good message. Yeah. So I did like 7 years with Devon County Council promoting cycling in schools, and we go to like 100 schools a year. And then that obviously branched off into like, I was still doing like big events, like I started doing like bigger and bigger weekend events as well. Right. And that was my way of like making a living out of it, because it's really difficult to make a living out of like just doing trials competitions. Well, you can't, you know, there's not enough money in the sport to do it.
Well, it's fun. I mean, we haven't really discussed this before,
which is super frustrating, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, mountain bike trials, and we started doing it right around the same time, has always had, the top pros have always done shows.
That's true. Right.
You know, we all had people, whether it was Hans and Libor or Martin and Martin, like those guys all did shows. So I think people growing up riding trials always saw, because the competitions were so small and there was absolutely no way you could make a career out of that. Everyone from the get-go kind of saw the opportunity for shows, demonstrations, performances, sponsorships. I think a lot of BMX riders, you know, you could be, especially in the days of Dave Mira, you could be a really successful competitive rider.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So when we started out riding, BMX guys just focused on being the best rider they could be, and the mountain bike guys all kind of had this demo thought.
You know, I have a theory on that. I'm wondering if what you guys are doing is kind of playing in or tapping into that same thing. You mentioned earlier that trials, you can set it up in a confined space and show off a lot.
Ideal. It's ideal for shows.
But with BMX, I mean, you need like an X Games setup. To show them what they really can do.
You need a big space.
I mean, you know.
So it's been a funny thing.
Yeah, right.
So Brian, you know, that runs Dialed as well. We've talked about doing shows. You know, how easily we can kind of deploy shows to different areas, and that has been one of the challenges, because to get a ramp moved or to get a ramp rebuilt somewhere to the right spec is very difficult. Right. Where, you know, when I'm doing trial shows, I have a set of drawings I could send to any handyman anywhere in the country, and in 3 hours he can in 3 hours he can build some boxes, and like we've got a show. So that is one of the things. I mean, trials can be done in a small space, indoors or outdoors. Ceiling height's not as much of an issue. You could build equipment easily. But I do think a huge part of it is that, you know, when we started riding, that was how people made money in trials. So we've always had that mindset, where in BMX, everyone looked at Dave Mira and said, I don't need to do shows. I could just be the best rider. And
well, trials riders just had to become marketers, to make money. And we saw that model with Jeff Lenoski and Hans Ray and Libor and all these guys.
The big problem is that, like, when in my career anyway, is that you have this problem of like a playoff between, if I just rode shows, I probably would have made a lot more money. Right. But I'm not really about money, so it was more like, I want to do the competitions. So it's then all through the summer, you know, you're like, you get a big event saying, like, oh, will you come and do 3 days of this event? We're going to pay you X. Or you're like, oh, but it's a World Cup weekend. I want to do well in the World Cups. Right. And especially through the era where I was like top 10, top 5 in the world, and you're like, oh, I could do really well, but I'm giving up this money, and then you're going to spend a couple of thousand going to this World Cup. Yeah. And then you go there and you have a bad weekend. You're like, man, I should have taken a show.
Why did I do that?
Yeah, and it's such a big, like, it's like, oh, what do I do? So I've spent the last 20 years kind of like, I mean, this will be my 20th World Championship this year.
Oh, wow. And dude, it's ridiculous. Me and Andrei have been talking about this, and like I watch golf, and I'm like, these guys are making millions and millions of dollars. And then I'm hanging out with Andrei Burton, who literally has risked his life in front of me. I mean, risked his freaking life for nothing. And I'm you know, and it's like, and the guy, and Jack Carthy, Jack Carthy, who, you know, you're staying with and we've been hanging out with, world champion how many times?
7 times.
One of the most elite, one of the best trials riders of all time.
Best riders.
Unbelievable rider, unbelievable human.
Yeah, 7 times
making
is
nothing
not like a
I mean,
one-off.
people probably think he's rich, but he's not, right? He's not making any money at this.
He's doing all right. He's one of the
He's
few
all
that
right,
can
but
make
I mean,
money
he's
out of actually just
He should be
riding
making a
competitively.
lot more money than he is.
Yeah.
I do think. I
put it
mean,
that way.
I might be getting us off topic here, but
Okay.
I do think that the one thing with trials is, like I said at the beginning of this, I stuck with the dirt jump bike because it was like a marketable bike. It was a relatable bike. I think trials is cannibalized itself a little bit because it's like a
100%.
gymnastic apparatus now. You know.
So that's a really good point. That like
Yeah.
I quite like. So me personally, my personality, I like training.
Yeah.
So I just happened to find trials. If it had been free running or climbing or BMX or whatever I
Right.
found, I was like, I want to do something that I like. Physical stuff. I like going to the gym. I do Ninja Warrior. I've done 45 seasons.
Oh,
of Ninja
we're
Warrior.
gonna get into that.
So,
don't worry.
There's a lot
Like, I
going
like
on.
that physical
There's a
side
lot
of it.
going on here.
So for me, when it was like transitioning into like the bikes that we're on now, and it was more like power based, I'm like, yeah, I can embrace that.
Right.
But a lot of the old school riders, like Akrig and stuff, they hate it. They kind of hate modern trials. I think. Well, that's what I've heard them say.
Sure.
Because it became like, oh, you've got to go to the gym and you need to train physically. It's not just about the bike handling
Right.
skill.
Right.
But I feel like it's kind of done a bit of a circle because it did go like 100% physical, but now you look at the likes of Jack and Charlie and everyone, and man, they can ride bikes, man. You put them on a mountain bike and you're like, oh,
Dude, what
trials
Jack-
riders really
Yes.
can ride like
Dude, what Jack
anything.
Carthy does on a
Yes.
mountain bike
Yeah.
right now and on an e-bike specifically
Yeah.
is unreal.
I think
man.
that's
have
very
been
good for
watching
the
him so
discipline
much.
of trials. Yeah, to have guys on normal bikes because then it's relatable and you see that the skills are somewhat transferable. But
Yeah.
seeing a guy ride a course on the wackiest bike you've ever seen, where the front tire never touches the ground the whole time you ride through, I mean, it's just not relatable bike riding. And
That's true. That is true.
Yeah,
I think it's
100%.
made it hard for people to make money in competitive trials riding because it's just most manufacturers don't make one of those bikes.
Yeah.
Most
Two out
events aren't structured for that kind of riding. Most venues you're not going to. I mean, it used to be we would just go find a couple rocks and ride over them, and you could find that at any mountain bike event. But
that's
now
why-
you need specially built courses or you need the most unique
100%.
terrain to hold a proper trials contest.
And
It's hard to hold an event, and it's hard to find a manufacturer that wants to sponsor it. No one makes the bikes,
And that's why on the side of our
point.
trailer, on our
Yeah.
trials trailer, it'll say mountain bike trials stunt show. And some of the hardcore trials riders don't like that.
They're
right?
like,
And
why did you say it like that?
Yeah.
right? And like some of the hardcore trials riders
So-
don't like calling it that, like because
Yeah.
they're true to trials, and I totally understand that. But from a marketing standpoint,
It needs to
like
be
what Chris
relatable.
is
Of course it
Sure.
does,
right?
yeah, totally.
I've been super quiet because I'm just like absorbing all this because I'm not so unfamiliar with trials, but fascinated by it. And I was going to do some research, and then I kind of chose not to do a whole lot because I knew you guys were just going to open my
Unload
mind
it
to all
on
this.
you.
But like, I'm still wondering, like, how did you discover this, or what's the history of
God.
trials riding?
Now you're opening up a whole.
Yeah,
That might be a.
Yeah.
Is that a full
Is that
podcast?
That's a full podcast.
This is a full- how long do we have?
long do we got?
When does Bike Fest actually open it up?
Well, I think the first Bike Fest, I flew out here because my daughter moved out here, and we went.
Yeah.
And they
And
had,
that's probably his
they had
first
all
time
these
seeing
stunts
trials.
set up and everything, and I was like, "What the heck is all that?"
Yeah.
Like,
I love it.
it's because it was just set up. There was nobody doing anything. So
Because a trial set up like that, especially that year, it looked like an incomplete something.
right.
So this is going to lead me on to another
Yeah.
point.
Oh my
actually.
god.
Okay.
Which I'll just quickly jump into because I tried to back in 2010 I tried to like get trials into the Olympics as a demonstration sport for London Olympics, and I met Seb Coe and stuff, Lord Seb Coe, and he was just like, I'm showing him images of like World Cups, and he's like, so you ride through building sites? And I'm like, yeah, man, it looks real bad. And
It
so
looks
I
real
started the London Trials Battle, and the London Trials Battle, I wanted it to look really cool. And one of the best things that happened was I built the course. It was like the third year I'd done it, and I built this course with this other guy, Andy. So like I designed it all in 3D and everything, and we built it all, and it was built to look good first, and then to ride well second. And a guy walked in and he walked around. There's nothing going on. There's no riders. And he walked in. He was like, "Man, this is really cool. What's going on
What
here?"
is
And I
this?
was like, "Yes, this is what I want.
That's what you need.
So we had like a massive tower, and I printed all the screens, and it was sponsored by Buxton Water. So we made it look like Buxton Village, where it's from. We'd taken like images of like all of the local buildings, and I'd recreated like the viaduct. So it's like 5 meters tall,
No way.
20 meters long, like massive thing with these crazy lines all over it, but it looked like a model village.
Wow.
So you're walking into the middle of this model village, little white picket fence, you know, green grass everywhere, and everyone's like, oh, this is really cool, what's happening? I'm like, it's a bike course. And they're like, what? We can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
And this is like a 55, 60-year-old guy that's just like, you know, not interested in bikes at all. And he came back and watched it with his family, and I was like, this is what trials should
It's
be.
so funny.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
when we go
That's
do
true.
events, we set all this stuff up. Speaking of it looking unfinished, we set all that stuff up. I try as hard as I can to make that look like it's something.
Make it look like it's
People
something.
still walk
Yes.
up and go, "Where's the show?" I go, "There's
Yeah.
flags on
It's
top of this
gonna
thing. Like,
be
you don't
on
notice
this.
that it's here."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to make it look like it's not
Yeah.
unfinished.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I think that there's something, you know, we were talking about that Bike Fest setup, and I think there is something to that gritty and raw, like you're hopping on like a big concrete pipe, and then
Yeah.
there's like a, you know, just it's like construction material.
But you know
almost.
what? It needs to be relatable
It
to
needs to be
normal people.
relatable.
To bike
Yes.
riders, you get it because you guys ride bikes and you go, man, if I could jump
I
my
could
bike
jump
on
on
that,
that,
it'd be
that'd be rad.
But
Yeah.
the normal person who just lives in Bentonville goes like, oh,
That's true.
they should have
That's
cleaned
true.
that mess up
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
the weekend.
Why is there a
you know?
bunch of trash
Yeah,
over
yeah,
there?
That's
Yeah.
true. That's
Well,
true.
we come from a skateboarding background.
That's
and,
right.
And it's super relative to us because they recreate skate parks now, like the
Yeah.
skate plaza with.
It looks like the
you're in-
street.
You're in a downtown square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff
So
like
It
that.
needs
cool.
to look relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's something that, I mean, when you think about it, you're talking about like building sets, right? And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
come
yeah,
from
essentially, yeah.
production, and so like, I mean, it's just set building. It's like it's
Totally.
almost it's theatrics, like
That's
that
literally it,
that
yeah.
part of it, and you know, kind of segue into American Ninja Warrior because like I feel like a lot of that stuff, it has that same thing. It's like this needs to look cool,
Right.
Yes.
but so that people say the thing that you said, like, what's going on here, like. I don't.
Yeah, like, wow.
I want to see whatever this is activating. I want to see somebody do it, but I don't know what you're doing.
Well, yeah, Ninja Warrior. And I mean, I haven't been on the set, but I mean, actually, the stuff that you guys are going over doesn't really look like anything. But the lighting and the bleachers,
It's the visuals.
Then
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious what's happening. Yeah,
That's right.
What's really interesting is if you take like those obstacles, so and you put them in like a normal setting in a normal gym,
right.
you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And they might be doing something like, you know, I watch like Jay Lachey or somebody like some of the American guys are like really good or Vance or whatever, and I'll watch them and be like, whoa, like I can understand that what they're doing in the gym is like crazy difficult, but then when you see it on the set, it's got that like wow factor.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
The
you
lights,
sit and
the
you're like,
people. Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
added
Yeah.
theatrics on top of the
That's it.
already like skillful thing that the
Yeah.
person is doing. So you're seeing it's like the action you're seeing in the center of the screen is amazing, and then what you're seeing behind it
Well
is
presented.
amazing. Yeah,
Well
and-
presented, yeah.
exactly. And one of the things, so like my specific discipline in production was lighting, and so
Cool.
in Ninja Warrior, the first thing I always saw was like, man, they use a bunch of beams and they
Yeah.
use a bunch of haze. Because to be able to have that grandiose like wow
Whoa.
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
it's beams of light moving
Yeah.
around crazy like it's a concert,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And it's a balance because like part of my job is like looking at it going and they'll do it all the time because they're trying to light the contestant, and you'll be jumping out to like, I don't know, say like the double squirrel, which is like,
I'm ready for this one.
two like massive lashes, and you've got like completely separate handles.
Yeah,
And I'll like walk
yeah.
up onto the platform and be standing there going like, man, I can't even
see it.
because they've got these two beams going straight into
And
your
you're
eyes.
like, well, we
you're
want to light the contestant.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, we understand that, but figure something else out lighting.
Yeah, you're like running flat out at like this trampoline to jump like, you know, like 4 meters out to catch
then
these like two
blind.
independent handles, and you're like, ah, my eyes.
Yeah. That's the real
straight
that's
to
the real
work.
difficulty, huh?
That's
To
the
get through
difficulty, yeah.
Yeah.
And because like doing that stuff on camera is another thing. We always in skateboarding. I don't know if this translates everywhere, but in skateboarding we call the camera the bail gun,
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, you're doing the thing, and it's like, all right, pull out the camera.
Yeah. Right.
That's when you fall, you know. But
Yeah. Sometimes like for me personally, like I think through doing so many shows, because so this is a weird thing about me, like when I'm out training I hate people being there, like I mean you know that when I'm riding I'm like I just want to be by myself, especially if I'm doing
alone.
something
Yeah.
dangerous. I want to be like completely alone, and when I'm training, you know, if I'm around other riders or whatever, it's fine, but when people stop and watch,
Sure.
I don't really like that. But when I'm in a show setting,
It's funny, yeah.
it's like
it
flipped on
flips.
its head.
So
Yeah.
well,
And
'cause
I'm
the
like,
show
yeah,
is the
come
show-
on, you
yeah.
know, and I'll
Yeah.
push
Well,
real
case in
hard.
point,
Yeah.
Bermuda. I mean, Andrei and I just finished a 8-day trip. On Andrei a little longer because he extended his trip, but
I never wanted
it was
to leave
so
that
great. So we did shows.
Nearly as good as,
we did
Bentonville.
3 days worth of shows for the Bermuda government. Recently, a couple weeks ago. So we had a few days to play, and Andrei was doing some crazy stunts
That's
on
cool.
cliffs on the edge of the coast. Gorgeous setting. And by we have found this huge, I won't give away too much because we're keeping it top secret at the moment,
There you
but
go.
we found a huge stunt that Andrei wanted to do, and we'd done a bunch of shows, and during the shows it was like you just said, he's all about it. He literally pretty much broke a world record in the show. We're getting the crowd hyped, but then we went, the last day that I was there, basically we had planned to go do this stunt that we'd been eyeing up.
Okay.
He had actually tried it once, and it's massive. And it's like, a lot of the stuff he does is huge, but it'll be like 75% of his ability, right? So it's not as big of a deal, to have a crowd and be hyped up.
Yeah,
but
it's not that hard,
This stunt was 110% of his ability.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it was beyond his capable. And
that's
when
when
I
you
see
have to be
Andrei,
by yourself.
It's right on
yeah,
the
and when I
edge of
see
what I can
Andrei
do.
getting nervous, like Andrei's visibly in his head and getting nervous.
Thinking about
so
it, yeah.
we show up to this cliff, literally up on a cliff, and we're preparing to film it. Him and I, a couple of the local guys are hanging out, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But people start pulling over. People start coming, and at this point, Andrei's a celebrity on the island. And
Yeah.
we've gone viral in Bermuda,
And
so
then,
they know
they know what's
and
happening
so
right
the
now.
People are showing
Yeah.
up and coming and pulling over their cars and coming and gathering around.
Hey.
And so Andrei's up on this cliff. I'm down in this cave, basically filming from below, and Andrei's up top. We've got tripods. Him and I are trying to get these shots, and he's trying to get psyched up and get in the right mindset to do this stunt, which is pretty I'm not gonna say life-threatening, but some catastrophic
it can
consequences.
be bad if it goes wrong.
And I
Hence
can
my
tell.
new tattoo from.
And I can
Bermuda.
tell,
There you
I
go,
can
from
tell
Bermuda.
Andrei's nerve getting, and the more he's up there, and the more people show up, I'm like, man, we probably should just call this.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I didn't.
right,
I didn't
yeah.
say anything, and I probably should have. And I knew Andrei was kind of starting to think the same thing, and then he goes for it, and it didn't end great. But it was that whole thing. It's we just did shows where we hyped everybody up, all good, but this was a totally different scenario, and it's wild to see that dynamic in play. And
Well, and it's I guess I really segued us with that bail gun comment.
Right. Yeah, we got it. Well, I keep hearing the word stunt, but I don't like a lot of people can visualize stunts like Evel Knievel or something.
Right. That's a good point.
Jumping buses or something, but this is different. It's
So this is really funny you say that, because I hate the word stunt.
Yeah.
And I never ever say anything. Trials is not anything to do with stunts. And some people in the trials world use it, but for me, stunts is more of I'm not sure if it's going to go right. Whereas
Or
trials is
movie set.
actually about being 100% of the time you're going to make it. That's what
Yes,
you're,
right.
especially as a competitive trials rider, you're on about doing it 100% of the time, right?
right.
Yeah.
Right.
You never want to fail. You want to do it every time. That's what you're aiming for. And I feel like a stunt is I hope it goes right. Maybe
I
it's
hope
gonna
it
be
goes
all
we
right.
got to
Right.
change
Yeah.
our
Right.
marketing, Chris.
Well, no, I mean,
But most people see
yeah.
stunt as
Marketing.
I can understand the terminology, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with
That's
you
the
on that,
thing.
yeah.
sorry to jump in there.
No, that's fine. I just think, with stunts, it's dangerous, and I'm not saying it's not a stunt, but it's just different. It's more like it's not focused around the danger of it. It's the difficulty and the
difficulty
skill,
of it.
Yeah.
the technical skill that you need to do it.
Right.
And he even Chris even said, it was I never thought of that. Gymnastics is kind of nailing it too, but I was thinking rock climbing in my head, on a bike, which is I've done a lot of that, and it's super difficult because you have to be strategic and
You seen the video of me riding up rock climbing walls?
yeah. And
I've done V5 on a
no,
bike.
it's
That's
fascinating, and you can instantly watch you do it and know that
and it's technique.
Nobody
It's
can
trials.
just do it.
You can't
Trials
just
is tech.
do it.
So trials is
Yeah.
100% tech. It's just technique, and everything Andrei does, 85 feet up. He also can do perfectly on flat ground. It's
yeah.
the same exact
Right.
skill that he does on flat ground. So it's just knowing. Some people will see these huge things that he does.
Yeah.
And he does some really huge things.
Yep.
it's the same exact skill set that he
Would
knows
do
that
on
he
flat.
can do on
Yeah.
flat ground.
Right.
And so, most of the time he's, like I said, he's doing it within 75% of his ability.
Sure.
It's the same exact move
Yeah.
that he would do.
Well, yeah, you know
down
what's
low.
funny about that? Just speaking of the two different words, like when we're pitching a sideline at MotoGP or we're pitching, halftime entertainment for a monster truck show, you do say it's stunts, it's dangerous.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But to your point, Jason, it's the exact same moves that if we go to a school, that's a skills demonstration,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Right.
it's the same thing, but you might call it a skills demonstration there. And yeah, you ride a wheelie on the ground. You go, okay, now that I could do that wheelie, let me use that to get onto this box. And
Yep.
now I'm going to use that to get here. And so you're actually just showing how you develop a skill, how you get better at something.
Totally.
You would never want to call it a stunt show at a school. But it's a skills demonstration and how
That's
you
a
build
good
a
point.
skill. And
Yeah.
and it's the same move on the ground. So let's practice it on the ground first and let's work our way up slowly. Yeah, it's only a stunt show.
Well,
When
and
it's,
Andre's
monster
still-
trucks,
Yeah.
Andre
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
practices the basics all the time, right? Like,
At my age, I have to.
yeah, he's getting old, man. He's not 28 anymore. He keeps telling me.
29 now.
I'm announcing these shows with him. He's like, I'm 28. I'm like, you're not
There you
28.
go.
Yeah.
I'm going backwards. I'm 21 next year.
There you go.
but-
But I think that it's like marketing is a big part of it, because with trials being on this kind of, I want to say fringe. Yeah, I don't mean it insulting, but
It's a
more
freak
it's like
show.
it's about like getting. How do you market it to get it? I feel like stunt, or we talked about mountain bike, putting mountain bike in front of
Mountain bike
trials.
skills. If you call
Mountain
it
bike action
skills,
show.
Yeah.
It can be,
Action show,
people
yeah.
have called it all kinds of things. The the marketers in the sports have called it a little bit of everything. And
I think the thing is with trials, right? If you, and my friend Rick used to do this in Holland. He was like one of the best riders in the world, world number 2. And he went into schools and he would teach trials. He'd take like 20 trials bikes, go into schools and teach kids like the basics of trials.
Mm-hmm.
And the knock-on effect is that like those kids have way better confidence and skill on a bike. So maybe
Yes.
they're not going to go into trials, but they might get into bike riding. And even if they're just riding to school, they then have like much better capability on a bike. They're
Yes.
more confident. Maybe they're not going to have that car accident. I've been into loads of schools in England where I went into one and did a show, and they're like, "Oh, we don't let kids ride to school anymore because a kid the year before got killed he got hit by a car and killed."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting," because their reaction to that was like, "Don't let kids
Don't
ride
let
to
them
school."
do it. Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, maybe you just
Safety?
need to educate them on the safety and give them the skills to be competent in that age, and then throughout their life, they're gonna continue riding bikes.
Yep.
So when they come to like work and be in the real world, they'll be like, "Yeah, I'll take my bike to work rather than I'm going to take a car."
Because I'm capable of doing that.
It is
Because they get
bizarre.
that
You just
skills,
brought
right?
up bike safety.
Yeah.
Years ago, I was doing an event for Bell Helmets, and they called up Safe Kids Worldwide. And they were having like their benefactor event in Manhattan, and they wanted all these different, companies that are their partners to provide something. And Bell Helmets says, we're going to send a stunt show. And Safe Kids Worldwide is like, are you out of your mind?
Wait a
Like,
minute.
and so I went in and did, a stunt show for them, and they loved it because, to your exact point, it's not stunts. It's, I'm going to do something that appears dangerous, but I've
Right.
done this 20 years and I haven't broken a single bone. Here's how I could do something that looks dangerous that isn't if you do it properly, and you start small and you work up slowly. And yeah, the idea that you could do a mountain bike stunt show for Safe Kids Worldwide and they would love it is shocking.
Yeah,
but
totally.
but it's attention getting. I mean, no one wants to see you go in and do basic stuff. You need to do something that's attention getting.
Yeah, what are you gonna do, ride
But
in
to
a
do it with
circle?
the safety, to do it with the safety message attached to it it's. Yeah, I mean, it's spot on with that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's something. It's quite interesting that we developed like completely separately on across the pond.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I start off my shows and I always go like just to start off so I can get warmed up and they can see what I do and how I do everything else that I do. These are the 4 basic moves that you learn in trials.
Oh, I do the
that
same
are-
thing. That's so funny.
Yeah, that are
The
like
same
completely
exact-
transferable to every single bike. When I go out on my motorbike, it's made me a better motorbike rider
Yes.
because
Yeah,
I've got
yeah.
these basic skills on a bike that comes from trials. And I'm like, you practice these, you're going to be better at every type of cycling discipline that you ever want to do.
That's right.
And that allows a trials rider to be able to do everything else.
Well-
and like for me, that's so important to like give that.
Yeah.
To, if that means like one kid goes out and gets better on his bike and he doesn't go and get hit by a car, or like he's just better on a trail and he can control his bike better, it's worthwhile. Like,
Yeah,
come on,
absolutely.
it's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're life skills, right? So like it
Yeah.
translates into life and everything you do. It's just like I didn't just start out here. These are
Yeah.
the basics, and I worked on these for years and years and years to get to where I can do it like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I think even with the basics, like, I mean, you were talking like those basic skills. When I see somebody who is a skilled trials rider on a mountain bike trail, it's like a different thing happens, because the way that you look at the obstacles is just slightly askew from the average mountain biker.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
I mean, you might see something like the first thing I think about is like an endo turn or something like that. Would be, you wouldn't even think about it. You just be like, I got that. You know?
Yeah, of course.
But like an average rider that sees like a tight corner, they're like, oh, maybe I have to walk that or something.
Yeah. And actually, so funny enough, I haven't ridden. I mean, I used to compete in mountain biking, and I've competed in downhill, cross country, enduro, road cycling, everything. But I haven't ridden that stuff for quite a few years now, to be honest. And then when we went to Bermuda, we went out and did like some mountain biking with like the local crew.
Oh, that's
the
nice.
Fat Tire Massive, and
Fat Tire Massive.
Yeah, it was really fun. But it was interesting seeing them when they got to like these technical little wood section, and it's like a little uphill thing, and like they were super struggling. I'm like, man, this is like, for a trials rider, it's just basics, like keep pedaling, look for your line, like lifting the front wheel, and like working your way up through this like technical little climb. And they were all just like, oh no, it's this is really difficult. I'm like, oh, this is like basic trials. If you had some like basic trials skills that you practice on the ground,
you would slay.
You'd come here and just be like, bump straight through.
It's funny that you said lift the front tire and pick your line, and that's definitely what a trials rider does. I had a hard time though running over anything until I started riding dirt bikes a little bit, and then you realize you can run things over. Because as a trials rider, you're doing this.
Well, trials.
I had to learn that, like, okay, with a little speed, you could actually just run some of this over, and
But that's like choosing. You're picking from each discipline, and you're like, okay, I'm doing this on the mountain bike, and I think that's one of the things that's really cool about mountain bikes is that you kind of can pull all the disciplines in. BMX, motocross, trials.
Totally.
I feel like all of them do touch into it, and I don't know if all mountain bike trails offer that. It's just about when you're traveling, you're in Bermuda, you've seen this little technical section, and they're like, "What do you mean? Why would you do it like that?" And you're like, "Because this is way easier."
Sometimes you're like over tech though when you come from trials, like. Aaron Chase and Jeff Lanowski lived in Jersey and we built a bunch of jumps. Okay. And Aaron had come with more of a BMX background, and he's a great dirt jumper. And when we would be riding, he could land a jump, not pedal, and take off the next one. I'd be braking, pedaling. Like I would be actually pedaling between jumps because you like have to be so in control of everything as a trials rider. It did take a little bit of dirt bike riding. Motorcycle riding did teach you, like, you can run things over. You don't need to touch anything. Like
mountain biking versus trials. Because trials teaches you a little. It's your slower speed, and you're looking in front of you, close in front of you a lot. So I do have trouble a lot. I have to constantly be telling myself I've got to look ahead on the mountain bike because this is faster, And my trial skills mess people up too, because if I slow down on a technical hill and I can stop anywhere I want and track stand anywhere I want.
That's right.
And then start pedaling again in anything. Not everybody behind me can
stop.
So like you hear everybody behind me go, "Oh, Schwinn, dude, what are you doing?" Like everybody gets off their bike, but I keep going. So like.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that the track stand is like I really wish more mountain bikers would learn it.
It's a basic skill.
It's the basics of everything we do. There's no way to do anything we do without the track stand.
That's right. But I also think, skateboarding. I told Scott whenever he first started riding, I was like, look, man, one skill that I know you're going to be able to pull from skateboarding and add to mountain biking is pumping transitions. And I see you're talking about pedaling down or like pedaling needing to get speed. You could just pump that.
They would look at me and they go, "Did you just pedal between those two jumps?" I said, "Yeah." They go, "Well, why?" I'm like, "Because I hit the brakes on the landing." They're like,
"Why'd you do that?" Also, I do that.
I'm guilty of that as well, And I see people riding death grip, and I'm just like,
it's unbelievable. Yeah, death grip. I can't
like,
even.
Why?
I don't ride down the street. I can't even ride down the street without my fingers on the brakes.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely not. I would have to add to, like, on a relative to a skateboarder's mind, I think a trials mind and a skateboarder's mind is similar in the sense that when you're everywhere you go around town and stuff, and you
see spots,
the lens you're looking through is, I can ride that.
You're
everything's
like, what's that?
We can skate that.
And skateboarding, by the way, skateboarding, like I wanted to say, because you guys have the skateboarding background.
Yes.
And that's how I grew up as a skateboarder. Watching Bones Brigade, jumping launch ramps.
Yeah.
Like watching Steve Caballero and Tony Hawk. And like, I was just always a skateboarder. I used my bike to get my skateboard to the ramps. I love that about you guys. Like, so, and that's how I ended up getting, later on, I found, mountain biking. Because I always knew there was mountain biking out there, and I'm like, eventually I stumbled into a mountain bike.
Same.
And at like 17, and then I stumbled into a bike shop that had a trials bike.
I mean, I wasn't too dissimilar. I was telling you guys before we started the show that I was riding trials in 2001 in Arkansas, and
so cool.
Nobody knew, but I just happened to be riding with the crew that rode trials, and I think that you were saying like the way that tethers. It was the skateboarders, the DJs, the graffiti kids, and then the mountain bikers started coming into that fold. Yeah, and it was like, wow, are we all the same?
Yeah.
This is weird.
And I grew up like watching snowboard videos, skateboard videos, and just was like, I had that like, I don't know. I always say I'm a skateboarder and a surfer in a biker's body. Like,
sure.
Because I love all that stuff. So like when I found a mountain bike, I just had that aggressive, free rider type attitude. And like the first thing I did, I found this junk mountain bike in my dad's garage. It was my stepbrother's. It was a piece of garbage, but I grabbed that thing and took it out to a hill that had no trails, because all I could think of was like these snowboard videos where they're going off the trails, like backcountry snowboarding and stuff like that. So I just started bombing down these hills that didn't have trails, no helmet, just like just
no helmet, man.
Turning it sideways, and I didn't even think.
Not
like
that
I
we
didn't
want to
think
promote
about, and I
not
also
wearing
didn't
a
think
helmet.
about so like, I always
wear a helmet.
I always say nowadays I wear a helmet all the time. Of course,
Yeah.
kids don't always wear your helmet. But I also and I never thought twice about, because of the skateboarding, I guess, and growing up, just being really active, and never thought twice about asking someone to teach me how to ride either. So I just got on the bike and just started bombing down hills. Like, and I never even like, I don't know. I just came from that kind of background of just
throwing yourself
off of things. Like, it's like this thing's got wheels on it. I can like, just get on it and start shredding.
There's a skateboard video called a toy machine jump off a building.
Oh yeah,
and like that's like how I think about
I've seen that.
all of the almost everything. It's like jump, just like do it. If you think you're gonna land it, jump. Do it.
Better to regret something you have done than something you haven't.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Well, and also I think
that's why I'm like, if there's an opportunity, I want to take it.
Yeah, and I think that you brought it up earlier. Like, there's something that's just really rewarding about it being difficult. Like, doing hard things is so much more gratifying than doing something easy and then thinking that you're going to get gratification from that.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, well, that's funny. So when I'm doing shows with, when we do kids programs, and again, we call our program Get Out and Play, which the whole idea is not even necessarily to go out and be a bike rider.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you something that I learned to do that's really difficult.
Yes.
And whatever it is you love to do, whether
Find
it's art or
something
music
you love.
or a sport or anything.
Yes.
I'm going to teach you how to progress at something. And
Be
we'll
active.
start small.
Yeah, be active. Find something you love and put everything you've got into it. And
And
at the
end
do
of
something
the,
besides sit in your house.
at the
on your
end of the
screen.
event, I'll pull.
Which I got 2 screens here, but
Yeah, right. I'll we'll pull the principal out or the gym teacher, whoever all the kids are cheering to jump over them, and we'll have them standing right next to the trailer. And when you're up on top before you jump off, it's I've shown you what I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult. It took a long time to get good at. I've kind of shown you what the process is. Go find something you love to do equally, and it doesn't have to be bike riding. Maybe I've turned down to bike riding. That's great, but just find something that's difficult, because it's rewarding when you get better at it. I mean, it's I
like
can't
the best
imagine not
message.
having that. And it is funny, because I've had friends who say, like, you want to come play golf, and I'm like, no. I've learned, like, you want to pick up a guitar? I'm like, no. I've learned something really difficult, and I'm pretty good at it. I watch Andrei, and I sometimes question how good I am, but I've gotten pretty good at it, and it was really rewarding. I can't imagine not having had that.
Yes.
I'm not really interested in like starting to play guitar.
Yeah.
But I just can't imagine being a kid and not having something like that. So that really is the
well, I
message
think it's not even just like hard, it's physical. Because like, playing a guitar is hard. I can't do it. But like it's not
especially something physical.
Yeah.
It's not an adrenaline rush.
Yep.
Yeah, and
a
you
lot of
don't.
us have.
And you need that. You need something that spikes you in
Yeah.
time. And I think that you can play guitar and ride a bike, but it's like I'm not going to substitute
something physical,
that.
especially.
Yeah. Because like golf, you brought up golf. It's not like it's completely without physical.
Yeah.
But it's way more of like a technique. Type of a game, and finesse.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Golf's
and
probably
so,
a lot like trials, though, because I mean, you are.
I could
you
see
are
that. I
I
could
mean,
see
I
that.
the crap out of
Actually-
it, when you're going off the tee. But like, it's just it's looking at the ground, and the grass is a little wet and it's a little slippery. I mean, that's probably the most like
I could
trials
see myself
of
Yeah.
any.
You know what? I think
you
I've
know.
never thought about it, but that's
So
probably.
I could see
yeah.
myself. I could see myself totally loving golf, and I just can't afford
Oh,
another
me too.
sport.
That's
I can't,
it
I
too.
cannot freaking
I'm there.
do
I
anything
remember-
else. I
I'm
hunt,
there.
I fish, I bike, I everything. There's
I
and
remember
bikes are
JJ.
crazy because
Yeah.
you need,
JJ.
Yeah.
you need a
And
bike
him
for
saying that he
every
liked golf.
discipline. If
Really?
you're like really
And I was
into
like,
it. So it's
Right.
like
really?
It's
Golf?
expensive.
No,
Yeah.
I can't imagine picking something else up like that. But yeah, it's got to be. Trials has to be the most like golf because when we would go to contests, again, you think of bike riding like, going through the woods or going fast. We would be there looking at like, what angle is this rock? How mossy is it? How wet is it?
right.
Like this is in the shade. That's still going to be wet this afternoon. Like, you're looking at like.
The elements.
lot of
Yeah,
elements.
yeah.
you're looking
And that's
at that.
exactly what golfers are doing. I mean, hitting out of sand, hitting out of wet
Yeah.
sand or onto dry grass. Or,
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
it's very
precision.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super
Precision
technical,
involved.
actually, isn't it?
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that this area it caters to so much of that. So like if you wanted to just like ride and do something else, Northwest Arkansas is like a perfect place for that because you can get those you can feed or scratch that itch, and you're only 30 minutes away from like maybe another hobby or skill or like a interest that you have.
Yeah.
It's around here.
This is an outdoor mecca. Yeah, it's unbelievable here for
Yeah,
outdoor activities.
I'm really glad you guys came and got to discover that because I think that's one of the things you guys got to meet Tom Walton.
I actually met him last night for the first time, and Andre and I were
he's
getting
a
in
nice
the
dude.
elevator with him
Yeah.
last
Real nice
night.
dude, yeah.
Yep.
Showed him this stunt that Andre did on one of his buildings, and I'm like, I said, "You want to see something this guy did?" I said, "You own the building at the Ledger, the parking garage at the Ledger, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." I said, "You might not want to see this,
You might-
actually." He's like, "No,
Breaks
you're
insurance.
good," because Andre did a gap across the 85-foot tall parking garage at the Ledger last October. Well, October, Andre was at my house for like a week.
Yeah.
And we were cruising by the Ledger, just kind of doing a casual ride, and Andre's like, "Hey, I got this thing I want to look at."
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
so
it.
we
at
get in
the
the elevator.
The opening event for Bike Fest last year. I was
Yeah.
like looking across from the building. I was like, oh,
What
that's
is
kind of
that?
possible. I want to do I want to do that. I want to go and have a look. But because obviously there was the huge storm last year,
Oh, that's right.
so I never got a chance to go back and properly check it out. So yeah, when I came back, for,
So we're
for Dial
casually
Action Sports
cruising.
last
So
year.
we're out for a casual street trials ride. Just Andre and I, right?
But
so we
just-
go
just you two.
We
And
stop by YT
important.
Mill, and those guys are blown away. Like and we're cruising down the street, just casually jumping over some rocks. We get to the parking garage at the Ledger, and Andre's like, "Let's go up there, mate." And I'm like, "All right, let's go up there." So we get in the elevator and go up 8 floors, and I know like right away because I know Andre's known. And by the way, Andre and I got to meet each other last year for the first time at Bike
Actually,
Fest.
yeah, it was Bike Fest, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a year ago, so we become buddies and starting to work together.
Yeah.
On some shows. So in the elevator, go up 8 floors, and I'm like, okay, this is about to get really freaking serious.
Like
I know
each level you go up.
Taking
by the way,
elevator's scary.
because Andre's known in the bike trials world and globally as a guy that will do some stuff that has some massive consequences. So
Sure.
I'm like, okay, I'm getting myself psyched in my head because this is getting ready to get real.
Yeah.
So
and you
we
got to
up there.
you got to get the shot.
Yeah, and I'm a trials rider. I was a pro in the 90s with Chris and everything, so I know what's getting ready to happen, I think. And as soon as we get out of the elevator, I look across the parking garage and go, I know what he's looking at. There's these pillars, and there's a huge gap, but it's like that 75% level of skill level, pillar to pillar across, and the down, in between is 85 feet easily.
Yeah.
It's death, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, he's going to jump up on top of that pillar, and he's going to get on his back wheel, and he's going to jump across this gap. Okay. So I'm starting to think about the setup for the camera, and
Yeah.
just if he says he's going to do it, I'm going to film it.
Yeah.
And he walks over, starts looking at it, eyeing it up. And again, it's that basic stuff that he can do down low.
Sure.
He's going to do it up high.
Yep.
And he looks at it a little bit, assesses it, and goes, yeah, mate, I think I'm going to do this. I'm like, I said, you good with it? And like, yep. Okay. Set up the cameras. Boom, right into this maneuver. I won't call it a stunt, Andrei. But this maneuver on his back wheel on his trials bike.
Yep.
And so he does it. We ends up doing it. And then he does it again. And then he does it again. We got
to, like,
multiple angles in this freaking thing. I'm like, he didn't just do it once. And then we leave, go down the street. We're sitting there watching the footage. I texted to my buddy Dennis Kremenetsky.
Yeah.
The photographer we use around here. I texted to him. I'm like, check this out. He's like, can you do it again? I'm like, hey, Andrei, can you do this again? We're just sitting there at Wright's Barbecue, just hanging out, looking at this. But this is the casual bike ride, right?
Yes.
So
8-story
yeah,
top.
I can do it. I reckon I can do it again, mate. And I'm like, all right. So Dennis comes down. We go back to the building and do it like 3 more times.
Yes.
And Dennis films it.
That's like, crazy. Because like when I saw it, I mean, I saw all the angles and I was like, did they just have like 4 camera guys like just
security guards? No, it was Andrei and I with our iPhones at first, and then Dennis came with professional gear the second time.
Right.
So yeah, but we got multiple angles, and I'm running up and down the steps to get angles from down below, and like I'm looking around, I'm like, there's cameras everywhere. Somebody's coming out here eventually, and eventually. Security does come out.
One of the nicest security guards I've ever met.
Yeah, super cool.
For the record.
But I'm like, he's like, hey guys, and he recognized Andrei from Bike Fest, from being the announcer and everything, and he's like, I know you can do this, but you can't do this. And I'm like, we're done doing this forever. No one's ever coming back here to do this again.
Nobody's gonna do it again.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what's interesting though? Like with stuff like that, like for me personally, like internally, I think of like the psychology of it. Right. And I think so. This is like, I mean, that moves like 50% of my capability.
Yeah.
Like on low level stuff.
Because
so,
like the distance wasn't crazy for
you.
Right?
Everything's kind of like
it's kind of a basic move, really, except for getting up on the pillar.
The worst bit is getting on the
on
pillar,
it.
because if you drop the front wheel over the other side, if you watch it, like just goes to wedge, and it. You'll know because when you go onto a wedge like that,
I was trying not
if
to
the
act
front
nervous.
wheel's slightly too far, like an inch too far the other side, your front wheel will rip you down the other side. Right?
You could put your feet down, but then the handlebars are going,
and then the bike's
the chances are you're going to flip over the handlebars, right? You're going to get pulled down into the 100-foot gap.
Right.
So that's death. So you're like, oh right, I need to be really. You need to get enough to get on top, but you go a little bit too much, you're going down the hole because.
Right.
Once I'm switched to back wheel, it's fine, no worries. But
but that's the transition to back wheel.
Dude, all I can think the whole time,
need to be perfect,
I'm like, this free fall is going to be long enough that we could have a conversation on his way down. I'm going to have my last conversation with Andrei.
Wait, I'm interested in that like psychology. It's like, okay, so if this was like on the ground,
yes,
I would just like roll in and do it.
I love that.
But when you're like, there's that like internal thing going like, oh no. I mean, it's like, I got into breath holding and like free diving and stuff, and it's like you're holding your breath. Yeah, I'm like over 6 minutes.
He's like 6 minutes, dude. It's
but,
ridiculous. A whole nother topic.
Yeah, but
Wild.
it's that psychology of like your like natural thing is to be like scared of that.
Yeah.
And you're like, but this is like kind of easy for me at a low level.
Yes.
So why would it go wrong now?
Well, and that was like the whole thing between us two.
Yeah.
That's what works for us too, is me being a trials rider, knowing that, and me being able to go, I know that he's fully capable of doing this. It's okay, like, and to film it. But I'm afraid of heights, by the way. I was like kind of like nervous even standing on the edge of that thing.
Yeah,
but
I did one. It's funny because I did one in China, and like it was just so interesting to see the psychology of it. And I was there with Pierre Charles, who's like a real good trials rider from Belgium. He's really, really good. I think he actually beat Kenny once. And he came up to the top of the building with me, and he was just like. And he's known for doing like real crazy moves. Right. And he was looking at this gap. It's like a little ledge, and you have to turn, and it's like 10 stories high, like 100% death if you fall, like guaranteed. And I was like, like I think it's fine. And he was standing on the edge, and he's like, absolutely not a chance he would ever consider even trying it. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, but it's interesting. And like I look at like free runners. I hang out with a lot of free runners. I've got a lot of really good free running mates, and like. It's that same psychology. Those guys seem to be more into that psychology of just like, I can clear this gap pretty comfortably
Right.
on the ground. So like when it's 10 stories up, why suddenly are you like, oh, you know, you doubt yourself and your internal thing going, oh, you can't do it.
Yes.
But you can.
Yeah,
you know?
because I mean, and I don't know if everybody can get themselves in that headspace.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you can,
Everybody
if you can
cannot.
just delete it from your brain that there's a fall from there. The distance, like you said, is only 50% of like your skill. So it's like,
Yeah.
It's
I'm gonna make this no
compartmentalizing
problem.
on a level that it's
Yeah.
an insane level of compartmentalization, I guess.
The thing is now, like I'm not going to lie, I do kind of think like, oh, I want to take it to like 80, 90, 100% in a tough situation where it's like, oh, now you're not just like dealing with the psychology of worrying about falling, but you're dealing with the psychology of like, I have to push 100%. So like the thing in
Right.
Bermuda,
The Bermuda thing.
it's literally like pretty much one of the biggest like distant like static gaps I've ever tried.
right.
So like,
So it's like 14 and a half feet. We actually brought a measuring tape to
well,
this
don't give away
site.
too much.
All right.
But yeah, it's big. It's like it's
massive.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, oh, but the consequences of going wrong are really tough as well. So it's like you have to push your body to 100% in that moment and get the technique right and be in the right place and get all these different things right while coping with the stress of like, oh, if I fall, I'm going to split
Which,
my
by
face
the
open.
way,
Like,
hey, speaking of the
You know,
Bermuda
or
trip,
worse.
this is a great time to say, if anybody wants to fund that trip, Andre and I want to go back to Bermuda
I wanna
and
go
do
back.
this.
There
So
you
if
go.
anybody wants to fund that trip for us and come with us, we
Yeah.
have something
Got some
awesome in
sponsor
Bermuda to go do. And
openings.
if anybody wants to get some killer content with us,
Yeah.
we
I
want
wanna
to go
tick
back
that
and film
box.
that. We're looking for someone to support that trip.
Gotcha. So,
Yeah.
so
Cool.
you need to go back.
I have to go
We
back.
want to go
Yeah.
back ASAP. Maybe they're inviting us back for the same show next
be back
year.
next year,
but
yeah.
we want to
Before that.
we want to go back specifically. Andre and I want to go back and film this
Yes,
thing we're talking about,
Right.
and we would love to find someone to facilitate that.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm just really into. I quite like the psychology of that kind of stuff. you know?
Yeah.
Like it kind of fascinates me, like how people, you know, like I'm really interested in free diving and like all kinds of stuff like that, where it's like it's physical, but it's also highly mental and like how to get into those states in your brain when you're just like, it's gonna be fine.
You know, the state of mind is a good point because like, and this is so much lower on the scale, so I apologize for comparing them.
it's okay.
But I was doing a climb yesterday. Scott's on an e-bike, I'm not, and it was a little technical climb. It's over by the castle, and it's kind of like locals know it as like the back way to the castle, and
Is it like Lone? What is it called on the other side there?
It goes alongside
Lone Wolf.
yeah,
right.
I know what you're talking about.
And so we're climbing, and I like going down. I don't really like going up. And but I've been working on my fitness recently, and we were getting towards the end, and I felt myself flip the switch when I was like, I hate this, and then something hit, and I was like, I'm gonna take this to the top. I was about to step off, and I was like, I got it.
Come on,
I
man.
got it. And then the rest of that time, the energy output felt exactly the same. I didn't feel like I was going to overexertion. I just carried it for the rest of that short period.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the only difference there was your mental state, right?
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
My
And then
physical
suddenly your
physical state didn't matter
Yeah.
anymore.
And you could have just
that was
given up.
weird.
And your body,
Yeah.
if you'd carried on with that mentality, you'd be like, it's getting more difficult. It's getting more difficult.
You
But
give
flip that
up.
And you're like, actually, I can do this.
I can do this. Yeah,
They teach you that technique in yoga, oddly enough. Like when you're in a position and it's
holding a
burning,
position.
Yeah.
and you got to go
Oh.
into a mental state to just you forget about it.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
burn, and it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So I think that you're right. There's a mental component to this because like I don't think that any of us here think that we're like super special, but like we're just people and
Yeah.
we're able to push further than others. But if you kind of take that part out and you're like, oh, we're all just people and he did it. Well, how can I get myself to break that mental barrier?
Yeah, I'm 100%. I always think like, if I watch somebody do something, I'm like, well, if they can do it, then I can do it. You know,
Yeah.
there's no like,
Yeah.
unless I'm not 7'2". I can't just do a standing
Just-
dunk in a
Sure.
basketball.
Yeah.
But within the realms, you know,
Yeah.
you're like, well, I mean, if that guy can do it, I reckon I can probably do it. And I always I'm never like, I could never do that. I'm like, if I
Sure.
really wanted to, if that was my thing,
Yes.
I would train really hard and I would achieve it. And I think trials teaches you that.
Yeah, it does.
And I think that's why trials is really good for like kids to do when they're young, because it teaches you that it takes a long time to learn those things.
The discipline of just
there's no
sticking with
instant
it,
gratification. But I also think that's the downfall of trials, that like if you get on a BMX and roll down a ramp, you're a BMXer, you're part of the crew, you're like, it's like, oh cool, you know.
You're right.
Trials, man, you have
can't
to ride
do
for
it.
like a
You
year
can't
or
do
two
it.
You can't
before
just
you're
walk
like,
in.
You
I'm
can't
a
do
trials
it.
rider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing to get started with, but I think as a life lesson, you're right.
Yeah.
Anything worth doing is going to be difficult. You're not going to be good at it when
That's
it
right.
starts.
Totally.
But yeah, trials is difficult because, like you said, if you get a BMX bike, you can roll next to your friends. And
Yeah.
you're BMXing, you know.
Yeah, you get a mountain bike and you can basically go straight out on a trail.
You can ride a
and,
trail,
and ride
yeah.
a flat trail, and you're like,
And
I'm
I'm a mountain biker.
It's
But
not
if-
super extreme.
If you're
just
trying to
still
jump
mountain
onto
biking,
a 2-foot wall, which would be like a very small trials thing, you are not going to do it for 6
Sure,
months. Like,
sure.
It's
At
just not going
least.
to. Yeah.
It takes years to learn those
Yeah,
skills.
you're
you know?
right. It's
Just
like-
hop on the back wheel and go around in a circle. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, track stand and hop on the back tire. It's months. It's months.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, like to keep things up, I will track stand and hop on curb, hop off, hop on, hop off.
Yep.
And I'm just like, I just got to remember that I can do that.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
and carry that on. But I would love to like actually bring that up to like, I don't know, like a railroad tie height, you know, like
Yeah.
because like that's I don't know what it's called, but like when you hop to the side, like that
Side
lateral-
hop.
Side hop.
side
Yeah,
hop.
Yeah.
So like I want to just increase that height just a little bit more, and I feel like
Yeah.
again those skills are transferable to all these other disciplines. I
Yeah.
really hope people
Well,
pull
come down
that.
today. We got the Yardie ramps all
yeah,
set
today
up.
at
right?
Bike Fest, so we got
Yeah.
we got the dialed action Yardie mountain bike features, and
Dude,
also
we'll teach you all
Strider
that today,
bikes.
yeah,
Well,
no
I'll
problem.
teach you.
I will
Yeah.
try. I will try.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
come along. I'll give you some tips and
yeah.
stuff. Like, we'll go through it. Yeah.
I haven't hopped on my back tire in a while, but I can get a couple hops. I can probably get a couple
let's
hops.
do it. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
whatever.
you know what he's doing? He's not letting go of the brake. That's why everybody
Dude,
can only
yeah.
get a couple hops.
We
You
taught-
let go of the brake. You
so-
got to pedal a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
We
Yeah,
taught
yeah.
Brooks. So we taught Brooks. I got this kid, Brooks Richardson, staying at my house from back in Maryland, from back east. We taught Brooks how to jump up onto the trailer yesterday on his full suspension mountain bike on our kicker
Right,
ramp.
there we go.
First time he's ever done it.
Enduro bike. I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
Did he do it on my bike, you said?
Huh? No, he did it on like a big enduro bike.
Oh, on a Enduro.
Yeah, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
he rode right off.
You need to give that a
Jump
go.
right up.
You need
Brooks
to
is,
give that a
yeah,
go.
he's
Pretty
amazing.
cool.
It doesn't surprise me he could do that.
Yeah.
Off the Yardie ramp or off the?
On
No,
your
off the-
no,
on
on
my
your
kicker,
big
okay.
ramp. On your big ramp.
Have you dropped into? Did you drop into the down ramp?
Yeah.
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 Like on my bike, I'm like,
Yeah, I know. It makes me. There's one move I could do that scares him. It makes me feel so good.
What
Yeah,
is
that's
it? What
hilarious.
is it?
Just drop it off my trailer into
Dropping
a
off
ramp.
the trailer
Oh,
back
okay.
into the ramp.
Yeah,
Into the
but-
ramp.
But the thing
Okay.
is, the trials bikes are set up. You know, if you got on his trials bike, you
off
couldn't
the
even
side.
stand
You're so
on it.
forward.
because
Dude, Kenny
Yeah.
said the same thing once, and I was like, oh, it makes me feel so good.
But the thing is, like, I used to when the bikes was like 10 years ago, when the geometry was
Don't blame
little
the
bit
bike,
less
Andre. No,
serious.
you're just scared.
But I
Don't
used
blame
to-
the bike.
I used to go off the front wheel and stuff like that. I'd go I wouldn't
Like
like
nose
riding
wheelie?
into it, but I'd
Maniac.
stop on the edge
Yeah.
and just go up on the front.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah, as-
Indo
right,
hop.
as- in.
Yeah.
As
Stay
one
on the front
does,
leg.
right off a 7-foot trailer. You just do this and jump off, right?
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
remember seeing Chris Ackery do it in a thing. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I just
Yeah.
actively kind of like look for things like that out
To
in the
do
street.
it.
Like,
That
ooh,
is-
Yeah.
I do that.
Like a
I
little
haven't done
bank.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
keep
could so
I
do it
keep
off
the
the
thing.
trailer,
I
man. I
keep the
wanna
thing
see
like
it.
this. I keep the ramp perpendicular to the trailer, and
Yeah,
then just
that's-
carve onto it, and then carve
That's
back
really
off.
cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
Because then no one thinks it's gonna. It's not set up pointing right at it. You know.
So that setup is at Bike Fest right now.
It's
Right?
at Bike Fest, right next to in the kids zone area, right by the jumps that you can't
Okay.
miss it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
yeah, shout out to Kenny Belay actually for letting us have that set up this year and
Yeah,
like
that's
bringing
super
us
cool.
in.
Full
'cause-
setup. Yeah.
and for his and actually for him just putting everything he's got into this festival because it's pretty rad.
It's really cool that Kenny's kind of like, brought this over here, brought trials into like with all the other disciplines as well, and kind of like kept that.
That's right.
Obviously, it's like his kind of first passion,
Yeah.
but it could have. I understand from his point of view, it's probably easier to just go like, I'm just going to do mountain biking and focus on everything else. But he's really made an effort to keep trials here,
Sure.
which is really
Yeah.
cool. And like last night doing the speed trial, I think that's like a really cool element. Hopefully,
Yes.
going in the future bike fests, it will get bigger and better.
Right.
Because it's really fun and it's such an obvious thing for people to watch. Like
Yeah.
it's that whole it's a bit like climbing in the Olympics when they had like they've got like
this-
lead and boulder and then they've got
Yes,
speed.
speed, yep.
And speed is just so cool. It's like 100 meters. It's like that and it's just so obvious. It's like who won? That guy.
Yeah, and I
Because
think
he was first over. the line.
audiences
Nothing
need that
was
every
on it.
once in a while. You know, they need to like, I understand what's going on here. You know,
Yeah.
and then that connects them. So
Yeah.
I think
So-
that there needs to be a couple of events involved that have that kind of
A
obvious
head-to-head race is just so obvious. Yeah,
There
it's
you
great.
go.
It's
And
great.
it's so
There you
fun
go.
for riders as
Yeah.
well. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a totally different thing to like normal trials. You're like, it's all about being slow and controls and like perfecting the moves. This
Yeah.
is like, just gotta go.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
here we go.
Well, and then I like that Northwest Arkansas is getting to see all these different disciplines.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because I mean, like I said, right, nobody even knew what we were doing in 2001. They I mean, that was like whatever that is, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that what was really cool about it is we were riding with a trials rider and a downhill rider, and in downhill in 2001, also on the fringe.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like, seeing everybody see these multiple disciplines, it's like, and Kenny is to thank for that, because otherwise I don't know if you didn't have somebody like Kenny Belay at the front of the ship, would trials be here?
No.
You know?
No.
I mean, and part of that's the vision of Gary Vernon, I think, because Gary Vernon
Good
has
point.
a
Good point.
motorcycle trials background.
Yes,
and
good-
Gary
great
Vernon, BMX,
point.
motorcycle trials. Gary is very into all that.
Yes.
So like,
Yeah, but
Yes.
nobody else
That's
could have
part
set
of-
it up. I mean, Gary might know that you need it here, but like bringing in Kenny, that's what
Good point.
Gary knew to do. You know?
Yeah.
Gary knew to do that though early on, and like,
Mhm.
so I think you can credit Gary for a lot of that stuff. And
That's
Awesome.
That's very
picking the
cool.
right people.
Yeah. Well, team.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
again, having a team of people that, kind of are passionate about a certain thing and can activate on that thing. There's a big difference between activating on a passion and just having a passion, because people that have a passion, I mean, you can just watch a YouTube video.
Yeah.
But, like when you activate on that passion, you're going to set up a company, an event,
Yeah.
a team, and then it grows.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're seeing that at Bike Fest, and I mean, we're going to see it at Bike Fest this weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we are.
So like, if anybody is at Bike Fest, make sure you stop by.
Please stop by the Dialed Action Yardy mountain bike features. Kids don't. Strider. We partner with Strider a little.
Yeah.
Ryan from Strider, Nicole from the Bentonville retail Strider facility down there, the retail shop.
Yeah.
And Yardy Mountain Bike Features is a partner of ours.
Yeah.
Now we're in
point.
disclaimer, Dialed Action Sports, and Brian Cunningham. Brian, we're not teaching skills clinics technically. So like Chris and I definitely have the ability to teach skills clinics with our
Sure.
background, and
Yeah.
Andrei as well. And we partner with this company, Yardy Mountain Bike Features. And they make these, I don't have a picture of it, but
Yeah.
you'll see them at
We've
Bike
seen
Fest. These portable mountain bike prefab, like
They're great. They're
ladder
exactly what you're
bridges
talking
and
about.
stuff.
Where you wanted
Yep.
to try on a railroad tie. I mean, it's exactly
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
They're nice, strong,
Little
training
trainers.
equipment with
Yeah.
a wide stance, so they're not
And
going
they'll
to flip
also
on
have,
you.
and Yardy will have their pro rider Christian Pepper will be there by
Pepper,
also
yeah.
teaching a little bit. So like, we'll help people out. From
Okay.
kids all the way up to adults. They can come over and
But not necessarily a clinic.
we're not really.
Yeah, we're not doing whole clinics, but if you
I
come
gotcha.
by and
I
you
gotcha.
need some pointers, we got guys there.
Yeah,
help
and
you out.
like, well, Yardy's whole thing is they'll let you set up the course, like rearrange it and like make it the way you want, and like try to
okay.
get through it, and like we'll just kind of.
It's
I've
fun. There's
seen-
some good
I've seen
wipeouts.
this.
Yeah.
Andrei might come over and bounce around on our trailer and our obstacles and like show you what's possible.
Cool.
You're
and-
good at ramps, right?
Yeah, I can do right. Yeah.
Yeah, you should try to kick it to the trailer. It's cool.
Yeah.
I could see trying it.
It's fun.
I could see
the
trying
one in that
it. Yeah,
picture.
yeah.
The one in that picture.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
I'll say
that's
that, yeah.
exactly it. Right
Is
there.
it that close?
It's wherever you want it to
It's
be.
wherever you want it to be.
Whatever you feel comfortable with. It needs
You
to
can
be-
put it as far
it's-
away as you
it's-
want, because I'd like to see that.
It's about. It's where it needs to be. So it's where it needs to
Okay.
be.
Okay. Yeah. Because like,
Yeah.
so I see on this, and I feel like I need to like show like the audience like this angle here.
Well,
You go up to your back tire. You
Yeah.
do you catch
Andrei
the
does.
edge
Yeah.
with your
Well,
tire?
Yeah, quite often you've missed the edge now. But yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So
that's a
Andrei
trials
goes
thing.
to
That's
his
how you
back
stop.
tire.
That's how you stop in
That's
trials.
how you
a lot of
stop.
times, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Andrei
Yeah.
goes to his back wheel. Chris and I tend to go to front wheel and kind of roll up like bunny.
That's a
kinda bunny
trials
hop
bike
on it,
thing.
like-
Yeah.
I see.
I'd land.
Could see
to
mid-
We could go to
My
the back
bike's-
wheel, but we're old.
My bike wants to do that.
Wants to go back, right?
Yeah.
All right. My mental, I think of a skate park and I think of a Euro gap. So like to me, my mental is like get to the top, gap to the top.
Yeah.
So as fast as I need to go to set both wheels on.
So
top.
what we would teach you,
Well, that's
like,
not a
if we were
trials
gonna-
move, yeah.
Well, yeah, but if I was going to teach him how to hit the kicker ramp, like we taught Brooks yesterday, it's just a bunny, like it's just a dirt jump, right? And you're just jumping up onto the top of this thing.
Okay.
And it's really almost no skill. Like all you have to have is the skill to jump a ramp.
Okay.
And just know that it's going to work.
Yeah.
And hit it with the speed and do what we say, and it's going to work.
Speed is a big
And, like,
big part of it. I feel
it's
like
momentum, speed, and pumping. Like you said, pumping earlier. It's just pumping that transition and knowing that when you do that ramp's big enough to put you on top of that trailer, and it's going to happen.
Well,
I mean,
but it does have a sheet metal
It's
top,
gonna
and it's
happen,
7
dude.
feet on the other side. So
Yeah, it's gonna
like,
happen.
You know.
I'm 49.
Speed
If I
isn't-
can still do it,
Yeah.
anybody can do it.
The interesting thing is like in trials, so in competitions we have like little kickers, right? So we want like a small transition to the highest height
the
you can
highest
get
thing.
to.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll also like in a trials competition to make it difficult is to have a limited run up. So that's what makes trials really difficult. Limited run
Short.
ups changes everything.
Yes.
So when you're out street riding, like a street rider will roll in from miles away and hit it with loads of speed and momentum.
Good point.
And like competition trials is like the opposite. It's like
No
how
run up.
short can you make that run up and still get up the obstacle? So
because that's like energy generation. You're like starting from a static point and then
just
burst.
But then
Yeah.
it won't be limited, unlimited run out either. It'll often be nothing
like the
so
trailer.
You'll land.
So I'd back up and say, like,
yeah.
exactly.
I would preface what I just said because our ramp is big enough that it's way bigger than what we need for our trailer. So in
I
our
see,
situation with that
Okay.
ramp, ramp is more than enough ramp to get you on top
To
of
get
the
you
trailer.
up there.
It'll get you on way bigger.
I see.
So
I see.
Now, if you had a smaller kicker and you were going up to the trailer, all right, now we're talking about some skill and some, it might not work out.
Gotcha.
But like that ramp, if you hit it with the right speed, we
Right
can tell you
speed.
Just hold
exactly
on,
how to
man.
do it, and it's going to work.
Yeah.
For the most
I wanna
part,
see you try.
kinda.
I want to see you try it.
Well, you guys got me nervous.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. I mean, I can jump off a trailer. I think. You know.
You don't have to jump off of it. You can get up there and we'll
Nah,
get you
you've
back
got to
down.
ride off it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday Brooks wanted us to. Brooks is like, just help me climb up on top of the trailer. I'm gonna ride off, and I'm like, absolutely not. You're gonna jump
can
up
just
onto the
face
trailer,
plant.
or you're not gonna get up there.
Yeah,
I'm not helping
do
you
you know
get up
what?
there.
That's an interesting thing actually, because like it brings me on to something else that when I see riders like pick a bike up and put it on something to jump off, that for me isn't trials anymore.
That's right.
For me, I want to find a line where it's like I'll see a roof and go like, oh, that's really cool.
How do I get up?
But
there?
I need something to get there. Even if I've got to park my van there and ride onto the roof of it and go like wall, van, building, gap, whatever.
That's a great point. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, for me, it needs to be like a section, a whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's kind of like
Like a line.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if I've got to hand somebody my bike and get up there, I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do it as much. Like, you know, I'm like the satisfaction
right.
isn't there
Yeah.
as much. If you're like,
You didn't ride the obstacle.
it's a bit like, so when we did that gap like on the building here, I'm like, yeah, I could stand on the pillar and get on my bike and do the gap, but I haven't done the whole line because I haven't started on the floor. So
Which, by the way, either way, that's
I
ridiculous.
don't win the rights to do the gap if I can't get to the position to go.
That's funny. Yeah.
It's-
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I
That's
do-
just
I
my
do-
mentality. I'm like,
I mean, I do remember
wanna
you
do
said
it.
you took the elevator up, but
I mean, I could have ridden up there as well if we were being pedantic.
Great
Yeah.
point. Great point.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're getting to the end of our show, man. I appreciate you guys coming. This was great.
Mate, thank you so much for having us. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
been
thank
really
you
nice
so
to come
much.
over.
Yeah. And I really want people to stop by the booth and check all this out.
Yeah, come say
So,
hi.
I mean, all weekend, you know.
Yeah, we'll
check
be
it
there
out.
starting today. At what time is it? 1 o'clock.
Is it?
One or something. But yeah, we'll be there all weekend. Chris and I will be around. Yardy, Greg Yoch from Yardy will be there. Christian Pepper will be in and out.
I'll be
Andre
around.
will
You
be
can
cruising
spot me because
around.
I've got my new Bell helmet with dialed action.
Oh
written
yeah,
all
yeah,
over
yeah.
it,
We
so
just got Andre
nice.
a fresh painted Bell helmet.
It's cool.
Custom?
Yeah.
Sick painted helmet. We started.
Jeez.
Chris came up with this idea. With rebranding, like as we've been cleaning up the brand over
Sure.
the past 3 years since I've been there. Chris started like getting some custom painted helmets done from
That's cool.
Austin Designs. Is he out of North Carolina?
Yep.
Guy that custom paints helmets for a lot of BMX guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just started getting
Really
helmets
cool.
for a lot of like our BMX guys that do a lot of shows for us as like kind of like a way to be like, hey guys, we want to do something for you. Like you're doing so much for us. we want to make you look good and make you feel good about what you're doing, and like started painting their helmets. So Andrei's our first trials rider that we did it for, other than Chris and I.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and before we finish, I mean,
Yeah.
I know we started with Dial, but
Yeah.
you know, for anyone listening, if it's a rider who is passionate about it, wants to travel and wants to get out there and make a couple bucks doing it, we're the right people to call. And you know, for a brand manager, if you're looking to, you know, get a team out on the road and do a retailer tour or hit 100 schools or whatever, you know, we're kind of the facilitators. I mean, that's what we do. So we'd love to hear from anybody.
Yeah, we actually
reach out.
need trial. So what we need right now really are trials riders who can drive a truck and trailer that we can put on the road.
I'm sitting right here. Hold on a sec, man. I'm right here. Andrei needs a visa. But you know, we need some. If there's anybody listening that wants to help me get my visa sorted for the US, that'd be really cool. Because I do want to do more over here. I think there's so much scope, especially in this region and all over the US. Like, I'd love to do more here. There's so much to do that, I mean it's cool. I did a big road trip around the US last year, and I went to like Joshua Tree, Tahoe and stuff, and then I got to come here as well. It's just so cool because there's just so much to do here.
There
you know? And there's so much that hasn't been done.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I told you guys you need to make it to University of Arkansas campus.
Yes.
Find some cool stuff there.
We'll do it.
And then schools around here. We in the beginning we talked about that. You need to get into doing some of the school functions around in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah. So PTOs, principals, you know, if anybody's interested in having us come out and talk to the kids about, you know,
anti-bully, drug awareness, smart choices. We can bring a positive message with the show. You know, if anybody wants to work with an elite trials rider, we've got Andrei now. We've been helping out for the past year, trying to find him some big shows. Him and I are actually headed to Detroit to do a Grand Prix next week after Bike Fest.
Oh, cool.
Then we're running back 13 hours back to do shows for Amy and Bell, Revelist Bell at Shareholders. So we're going to be busy.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's
Busy,
great.
busy.
Well, dialedactionsportsteam.com. Is that how they're going to?
dialedactionsportsteam.com.
Yep.
Yeah, Schwinn Diesel on Instagram, Andrei Burton on Instagram,
Yep.
Dialed Action Sports on Instagram.
Yep.
On the gram.
Chris,
it's all about
Chris
the gram.
not on Instagram.
Chris not on
It's
Instagram.
on there, but he's not
it's all
really
good,
on there.
I'm kind of jealous, actually. I'm kind of jealous
it's
of
great.
that.
Yeah.
It got hacked or something 15 years ago.
He just
And you
Never
never came back.
Yeah, it was great.
Chris
That's
lives in
great.
the real world.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
I commend you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Chris is
And
like a
Brian's-
real person.
hey,
You're a
Brian-
real person.
When I meet somebody and I'm like, oh, do you have what's your Instagram? And they're like, oh, I don't have Instagram. I'm like, wow.
That's nice.
So you're like a
That's a real
caveman
skill.
or something.
That's a real skill right there. It's
really nice.
That's great. All right. Well, man, appreciate you guys coming.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Everybody,
for having us,
I appreciate everybody watching, and check out Dialed Action Sports at Bentonville Bike Fest.
Yeah, come
See you
by.
there.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having us,
All right.
guys.
Thank you.
guys.